Hello once again to the Sports Psychology Attentional Style screencast. This screencast will aim to describe the Nideffer's model of attentional control. As we discussed last time, this was about cue utilisation, but the problems with cue utilisation is that although it tells you how much arousal certain skills or types of learners or different types of personality individuals will require to focus their attention, it doesn't say where to focus the attention to, and that's where Nideffer's model in cooperation with the cue utilisation model helps out. So here is Nideffer's model, and essentially it is two axes, as you will see, and we have an axis that goes across the middle with two arrows on the end, and this replicates what we call a focus axis. So what we should be focusing on, should we be focusing on a broad focus, which I'll come to in a minute, or a narrow focus? And what this implies is that if we're looking at broad focus, so let's say we're playing a game, should we focus our attention or our concentration on what we call a great deal of stimuli, so lots of things, and would we therefore include peripheral cues, which means things on the outside of us, so external forces if you like? So for example, a broad focus would be playing football in a game, in a match situation, and you might take into account the opposition, you might take into account the players that are on your team, you might take into account the ball that you're running with, you might take into account where the opposition goalkeeper is, you might take into account what the crowd are doing. That is a broad focus. There are lots of stimuli to think about within that particular aspect. On the opposite end of the spectrum it says narrow focus, and what that implies is the reverse of broad focus, in the fact that you think about one, two, or a small number of stimuli, so you're thinking about specific things to focus in on. And as it says there, it enables focus on a specific cue. So for example, a good example of this would be if I was a batter playing cricket, and I would be focusing on the spin of the ball coming towards me before I hit the ball. So I'm focusing on one small thing that enables me to increase or develop my performance. So very, very small stimuli against very, very large stimuli. Now, on top of this, along a different axis, going up and down within this model, we have what we call an external focus and an internal focus. And what these mean are a little bit like what they say on the tin. External just means that's outside of our body, it's outside of us as a person or an individual, and it's an outward projection. So that enables us to focus on an environmental stimulus. So for example, again, if I was playing cricket, I'd be focusing on the bowler running up towards me. That's an external focus, it's outside of me, it's nothing to do with me. An external focus might also be looking at the crowd, because they're external of me. Internal focus is just the reverse again, so it's an inward projection, and what that means is with thinking about something that's happening to me, to my mind, to my personal development. So a good example is there, it says it enables focus on a psychological emotion. Well, things such as mental rehearsal would be an internal focus, because I'm thinking about doing something. Also could be thinking about a tactical play within a game. It could be something to do with decision making. So things that are going on in my mind psychologically, it could be if I'm getting aggressive or getting angry. That's what we call an internal focus. So those are the four different styles that Nideffer identified. If you could make notes upon those styles, so replay this screencast again and again and again, make notes on them and bring them to the lesson, and we'll expand this a bit further, because although the ends are very important here in terms of these four styles, it's the spaces in between that we now need to think about to push the model forward.